What is up, man? Give us one sec. I got Jesse hopping in. Actually, Jesse, you ready? Look at you, already up. Jesse, wave. There. Boom. Cool. What's up, dude?
Nothing
Ha-
much. How are you?
Good, man. Happy Monday. Oh, look at this view. I kind of like this. I didn't have a chance to. Well, you know what? I think this automatically goes to Twitter, huh? That's one I was thinking we could actually link your Twitter account later on. Yeah, there's and actually have it. What's up, Dodge? Relax and
Everyone's
have
good.
fun. The crew is all here. Appreciate that, guys. All right, so welcome. Give everyone just a second. If you don't know Jesse, by the way, love this guy. Traded with him for man, how long have we been trading together?
It's been a little over a year,
Little over a year
almost a
for
year and a
sure.
half.
Definitely a fan. Watched him go pro, so that was that's always love to see that, man,
Yeah.
when we have people that are just kind of like hanging in the community, learning how to trade, getting better, and then actually make the step to go pro. And like it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal.
hmm
So definite congrats. He's a futures trader, by the way, primarily now. Well, a little bit options and futures, but so
And
I'll have Jesse
Forex.
kind of go through probably ES levels, futures levels. What's up, Carlos? Or if you want to hop on anything else while we go through as well, that's fine. And then if anyone else is new, by the way, please, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, give the video a like, Twitter, retweet it, share it out. Let's get some people in here. Oh, you're in the Discord. Laptop just died. Bummer, man. But we're gonna go ahead and go through the weekly trade plan. If you haven't seen this stream before, really what it is, we're just approaching our trading as a business, and really just kind of like looking for what was the main news that happened last week. What do we need to watch out for moving forward, and maybe a couple of our trade plans. We'll hit some major indice levels and kind of go from there. So that said, let me see. I'm gonna actually. I think I like this view better with all of us and then the chat going. So that said, we have earnings season this week. So huge time to be an options trader. We have really a system that I've used to trade earnings forever, and used to teach it as like a standalone course. I haven't done it that much. Just honestly, day trading has been so good the last few quarters. It hasn't really been necessary. But if you're new, or this is maybe like your first or second year out there trading, just a heads up, the indices get a little choppy whenever we get into earnings season. So, so that said, let's go ahead and get into this. I had a little bit of headlines. Nothing major really stood out. There was a couple things last week we really wanted to look at. We had FOMC minutes. Last week was pretty mellow, actually, in terms of data. And to be honest, so is this week. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, really. The biggest thing last week, we had CPI and we had FOMC minutes, followed by PPI and retail sales. Of that, like most of the headline stuff was really like there was a Fed Williams had noted, some of the smaller regional bank failures, not necessarily going to have a huge impact on some of the economic data. And if you go back to the last actual FOMC press conference when Powell spoke, he raised 25 basis points, but the rhetoric, like what he was talking about, look at Excal, what he was actually talking about, it was pretty bearish, right? Or at least very, very concerned. And so now we had another Fed governor coming out and saying, hey, look, maybe not so much concerned. But that's really what the focus is going to be. We had bank earnings kick off at Friday of last week. JP Morgan had a huge beat, and that thing was, I haven't even looked at it today. I don't know if anybody has, but JP Morgan, these are what we call like GSIFs, globally, systematically, like important financial banks. So it's like they're not necessarily uh, at risk. It's more like the regional banks, and what that's going to look like, specifically in terms of the credit situation. So PNC actually might be a good one to look up. That was the biggest regional bank. PNC Financial. Let me see. PNC Financial Services. And ooh, yeah, looks like they pulled back a little bit on Friday and are totally recovering today. So that's actually constructive. The reason the regional banks are going to be a little bit more important, just from an economic perspective, just understanding like what's going to happen in terms of credit crisis potential moving forward, is that actually most of the regional banks have a lot of that real estate debt, right? So that's what's going to happen. That's what the conversation is really going to move to next. There's another headline on Oxy. I don't know if you're a fan of Oxy, Jesse, or anybody watching, but I do own a decent amount of Oxy, and there's the thing with Oxy has always been, I mean, besides Buffett, but one of the reasons Buffett was buying is like their ability to actually go like this, basically carbon capture essentially, and so they had some pretty good news on what they're doing over there. And I had Buffett had that interview. It was like a 3-hour interview in the morning. And again, he kind of just reiterated that idea. Like, hey, look, his stance was oil's not going anywhere anytime soon. Doesn't matter how much we spend on um, ESG or what have you. It's gonna stick around for a while. And I think the charts really showed that last week. It was pretty big move right back to that back to over $80 a barrel. Looks like we're holding right now. So definitely interesting. And then FOMC minutes. So we got FOMC minutes on Wednesday. And when the minutes come out, most of what everybody looks at is like who was hawkish, maybe turning dovish, who was dovish, maybe turning hawkish. And in general, this release was that there were a lot of governors considering rate pauses versus not hiking rates. And the last one I just added, man, was Google. Google got hit with like 2 headlines this morning. I do have a long position in Google, just as an aside. It was a bummer. I mean, this thing is so beaten down. I totally think still, even at this price, probably a little bit undervalued to me. But Google, Samsung had a note that was released over the week, I think this morning, where they might be considering replacing Chrome with I guess it's Bing, right? The Microsoft version. So we saw Microsoft get a little pump this morning, and Google definitely take a nosedive. There was also a 60 Minutes interview. Yeah, Samsung. Oh yeah, so yeah, a lot of people I saw had Google puts going out. So I mean, it was a good swing if you did grab some puts at the close on Friday, right at that major resistance level. So here we are. I think at this point, I'm just going to watch it and see if it triggers one way or the other for me. It's kind of like stalling out. Yeah, Google search out on Bing. Other than that, there was a 60-minute interview. I didn't really watch it, but most of the headlines was like, hey, he's kind of like stepping on the brakes on the AI thing, similar to like what Elon was talking about. Elon's like, oh, I'm going to start a new AI company, which I should have put this on the recap, but I didn't. And then actually, Jesse, do you have any headlines that caught your eye this morning? If not, no big deal, but
Nope, not this morning. No, I'm mostly I looked at Dixie, but I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit. But
yeah. I'm gonna move a little bit faster through the rest of this. But just again, from an economic data point recap, last week, actual numbers here that came in on the middle column, this actual column here, consensus on the far right, the difference between what actually came in and the consensus, that's what would move markets. And there's really only one major outlier, right? So PPI month over month actually did come in significantly lower. So half 0.5 basis point down, 0.5%. That was expected to be flat. That's the second really good data point for PPI. I think the thing there for me, I'm like looking at that, I'm like, man, that's producer costs. So we don't know yet if they're really going to pass it down to the consumer. So I'm not taking a huge read off to that. Retail sales was another one that, again, it was expected down 0.4%, but actually came down a full percent. So that was actually double. And when you look at the retail sales and then X autos down 0.8% versus 0.3% expected, that's a pretty big difference. And this caught my eye where, from an inflation perspective, we're looking really for, how do you say, spending to come down, velocity of dollars to slow to bring down inflation. And so this would have been a normal event where you would have thought, okay, well, this is bad news. It should be good news in the market. But we started to pull back quite a bit on Friday. So, the question I'm really asking myself now is, okay, well, is bad news? And will good news actually turn into good news? So when we got the consumer sentiment right on Friday, we actually had a pretty big move also. So we'll have to look at that. It's going to be a little funky week, but keep an eye out. Like if bad news is bad news in the market and good news is good news, that's going to be a reversal from what we're used to seeing, where good news is bad news and bad news is good news. Just a quick high level. We had some housing data come out this morning. This week, super light, right? So we have housing numbers, building permits, and housing starts tomorrow. We do have a beige book, which on Wednesday, the beige book is actually where all the Fed governors put their little reports together and submit it to the FOMC committee for the next meeting. So that gets reviewed. The media's all over that. So just keep a heads up for that. And then home sales and jobless claims on Thursday, which, if we're going to pay attention to anything, retail sales, obviously still not that big of a deal, but jobless claims and home sales, just the economy overall. And I think the focus is going to start to be on real estate a little bit more moving forward. Oh, shoot. I did not update this earnings chart, but I will tell you that we've had two. So I'm looking down right now. So we had two companies actually report already. UNH did, and JP Morgan also did in the Dow 30. They both beat. And then this week we have the kickoff of earnings season. This week we have Goldman, looks like J&J, IBM, American Express, and Procter. So pretty big week. And again, just careful if you guys are trading anything and you're swing trading, just make sure to double check where. Oh, Schwab today came out before market open. If you're trading anything and you're a swing trader, where I was going with this, make sure to double check when somebody's reporting earnings, because there's a huge volatility difference on, we call it a time skew, but different series or different expiration contracts are priced completely differently based on whether or not they're going to capture that actual earnings report. So just looking at Schwab, looks pretty unchanged right now. That would have been a beautiful one for our system, the earnings system. But other than that, so I'm just gonna move through this. So NHB, I didn't get today. We have a couple other Fed speeches. So I think we have a Fed speech today after the bell. I don't think there's not. I'm gonna move through this. Existing home sales is the only one that I really want to highlight for Thursday. It's the last number was 14.5% up, which was kind of unexpected. Currently, consensus is down 4.2%. So this is one where it really kind of stood out to me. I was like, wait a second, something's a little funky there. And we do get Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, which is also one that's been paid attention to quite a bit. So the consensus is 20. Previous was down 23%. If you look at this trend, and I'll just pull it up for just a second, it's really bad, but it's getting like slightly worse. Hopefully it'll get slightly worse. So that's what we're looking at right there. If this starts to improve, I think that'll be a little bit better in general. And then 3 Fed speeches on Thursday and kind of like peak earnings. And then global PMI on Friday. Cool. Jesse, if you're able to, and you want to do like a quick screen share and then walk us through some ES levels just
Sure.
for the major pivots of the week.
Yep. And let me zoom
Yeah, go ahead.
in.
Share screen, and then I'll pull it up here.
Entire screen. Screen 1.
Netflix pull for. Cool. Looks like you got a little bit of a. Not sure if you're. Can you guys see his screen? Looks super blurry on my end.
No, it looks blurry on my end too.
Give me a second to buffer, otherwise I'll just hop in.
Yeah, I can just give you levels. My thing is kind of lagged right now. The restream.
So I just pulled up real quick. ES.
Yep.
All right. I got a couple here, but which one are you looking at right now?
I've got 38, 39, 25 is sell side liquidity on the downside. So it's a little ways, it's a while away actually. The closer one
3088325.
Yeah, now my restream is working. Yeah, 3839.25.
3839.
Yep. 0.25. That one's a while away. The closer one is 409650.
All these things are. Let me just delete some of these.
You're good. Might be able to stream again. My Chrome is no longer lagging.
Yeah, dude, you're way out here. Okay, this is the very bottom.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is on the 13th of March. That's the bottom of the range.
Okay. You have the closer one at 4096.50.
4096.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and that's the bottom of this consolidation right here.
Yeah, and then I have the last one. So I only have 3. The last one's 4208.50.
Got it. Top of this range.
Yeah. So those 3 are kind of really the top 2 are kind of my zone. So the sell side liquidity is the one at 4096.50. That was actually already grabbed on Thursday, April 6th. And so I'm expecting us to likely head up to this buy side liquidity before we have a area where we could reject. Above that area, we're cleared for 4300 area. So those 2 lines are pretty much what I'll have drawn all week. Those are daily targets. So right now we're inside on ES on the daily, and a failed 2 up from Friday. So kind of like a 100-point zone, 100-point range where I'm kind of, this is scalp territory. I don't really have a bias right now.
Totally.
There are a couple fair value gaps below. And if I draw a fib, I haven't done this yet, but
I think we're basically at a fair value gap right now from, what is this, the 14th?
Yeah, on the 1 hour, yeah.
Yeah, so right here. I mean, if I zoom this in a little bit, so this is where I had my first one, like right here. So I saw some volume coming in on some calls, actually, some really weird volume right at the top of this consolidation here, but below that, yeah. So if we get a close below, like a 30-minute close below 4150, you're looking maybe this second fair value gap, or what's your second target down here?
Well, ultimate target would be, and it's kind of blurred, but probably that 4096, honestly.
Yeah, 4096.50.
Yeah, I just drew a fib from this last push up, and there's a fair value gap right under that liquidity zone at 4077.
From 4960?
No, from the start, from 38, pretty much this whole last move on the daily chart.
Gotcha.
So there's a fair value gap right under this sell side liquidity that kind of lines up with a fib, and then there's another one under that. One of those 2 are really where I'm eyeing it.
Oh, that's super short, man. Look at you.
Yeah, so I'm eyeing those. I'm eyeing those for a retrace, honestly. And as I've grown as a trader, I've realized that even if I'm bullish, it's not a bad thing for us to go short for a little bit, because the only way for us to go higher is for us to have more buyers. And if we're out of buyers, we need to go find some more. And the only way to do that is to go short. And so for me, I want to go higher. And those 2 fair value gaps on the daily, right above the 50% retrace, are kind of where I'm targeting if we do break this sell side liquidity. So I'm not really long-term bearish. I'm more like, I could see us,
dropping for a bit.
Maybe first week of May hitting that area, and then finding some new highs in June. But
it is that, what is it? Sell in May, go away. We'll see.
Yeah.
You never know. That's the seasonal trend. But I think we're coming into it. By the way, tomorrow, I believe, is tax day. A little bit different this year. So tax day. Always one of those days it starts to get a little scary. Sometimes we start selling off right around that same time. You know what I'm going to do? I have some SPY levels, so I'm not a futures trader, but I do trade SPY and SPX. But if you want to just shout out, like when I give a level, if you can kind of match it up to like ES, if that works, that'd be super helpful.
You want me to just load up a SPY chart and mark it up?
No, I already have one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll typically look at NFP candles. So like when we get NFP, CPI or FOMC type data, to me, I'm looking at fundamental levels, fundamental events. Sorry, I'm getting all tangled up. Fundamental events creating technical levels. So there was on February when we got our NFP data, that candle actually went all the way up to 413.60 on SPY, like SPY. So that's actually right about where we opened on SPY or ES, right? So whatever that is, that's to me my main level. And that's a major resistance. If we get like a 2-day close above that, I think we can definitely go higher. But you know, the level for me is like right in the middle, 409.50, which is last FOMC's high on that candle. So when I look at FOMC data, so this was what's this level 409.50 on SPY? What's the equivalent here on ES?
What date is it? The 11th?
Yeah.
The high of the 11th was about 4180.
4180.
Yeah, ES will be about 10 times SPY,
Yeah.
give or take about 50 points on ES.
Okay. So right around there, that we got a little consolidation just above it. So this is on the 11th, we consolidated below, kind of tagged it, broke down. But this is the level where right after FOMC, they were trying to defend right here. And so this is what I'm looking at. This is kind of like a liquidity zone, if you will, but buyers stepping in right around 409.50. If we get a chance to defend that and we do successfully one more time this week, I think I'm going to stay fairly bearish or bullish personally. I do have an anchored VWAP, by the way, from the all-time high. So there's a blue line on my chart, which is this anchored VWAP. And that actually puts us, that's right around 407.45, which is the bottom of this prior kind of consolidation zone. But just as an aside, we are in a major consolidation zone where every time we've landed definitively in this box on SPY, it's 417 to like 407. We spent the better part of 2 weeks trading completely range bound. This is where we've been getting those like epic barcodes, right? So like right here, about 14 days, same thing. Right here, about another 14 days. And then recently, right here, about another 14 days. So to me, I think we've kind of like coined this maybe like Death Valley for SPY, but this is a absolute chop zone. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on that for sure. I think that 40, what was that level on your ES to the downside? 40.96. That's going to line up exactly to me with the bottom end of that consolidation zone on SPY.
Yeah.
And that anchor VWAP from the all-time high.
And to note, I'm looking at that same, I don't know if it's the same consolidation, but last year from May to about 2 weeks in June, and then this year from February until about 2 weeks, both times we came up and rejected and went short. Even the one time we broke through in August of 22, we broke up and went short. And then I did look at that NFP, which was interesting, or no, FOMC from Wednesday.
Yeah, it's the candle's super interesting every time it comes out, right? So like the low of that same candle on SPY is 406, right? Which would be for your ES chart like a clear break to the downside. I also have that same exact fib from that low up to the high, which would put me on SPY for just a 50% tracement, 398, which is again same kind of level. Like if I start breaking 405 to the downside on SPY, I'm going to start targeting that 398 kind of level. But for as long as we're holding above that 409.50, I think we could do a slow chop to the upside, especially when we see things like VIX holding under 20, 20 in general. So, VIX is another one. This is not VIX. So VIX, is not a big thing to me. Aside from the volume stuff, by the way, look, SPY's been in the same spot for a freaking year. So why is VIX even over 15? I don't know. But as long as it's holding below 20, right? Like that, to me, we should be looking at a slow grind to the upside, or at least stabilizing out, right? And not necessarily taking huge downside positions. I said the longer that we stay here, the lower the volatility is going to become. It doesn't mean I want to go out of the gate and start buying calls or puts either. It does mean that, hey, look, by the way, time is going to be a little bit more important if you're an options trader, just because we're going to get some of that IV kind of suck out of those contracts.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Qs, I think it's going to be similar levels. I got a trigger Qs 321 to the upside. NQ, you have that level on NQ, Josie?
On to the upside,
Yeah,
it would be a close over 13,300-ish.
beautiful.
And what I was gonna say with NFP is on ES at least,
Yep.
if you draw a high from the NFP, we never closed above that high, we just wicked above it, which I see that as a
Yeah,
stop
that's
hunt or
that
a
for I
liquidity
this is
run.
so I have it at 41, 46.75, I
Yep,
think.
about the same.
Yeah,
Well,
and that defense
41.77.
where they started really defending it,
Yep.
41.3275. So if that level holds at 41.30, call it 41.3450 if I really get in there. Um, I mean, it's still a slow chop. It's at
Yeah,
least not definitively going down, that's for sure.
right. Yeah, and NQ, I would say a close over 13,300 would be ultra bullish, targeting probably another 400 points.
Yeah. If I look at the cues, right? So the cues like bottom of that FOMC kind of print, same thing, 313.50. So as long as we're holding that, that's actually the top of the cues consolidation. So if I look at the cues, similar consolidate Death Valley, if you will, to SPY, they're actually a little bit higher than SPY. So as weird as it sounds, feels for me to say, I'm actually maybe a little bit more bullish on the cues than SPY if we do get some of those upside presses.
Yeah,
Um,
recently with NQ, I've been getting faked out because NQ is very similar to SPY. Everybody knows
yeah.
that, or ES. ES is just going to be the more logical of the two. NQ is going to be the more sporadic. Some people call it the SPASDAC. And so if NQ looks like it's breaking and ES is not breaking out, that's where I would be very, 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 very careful.
Yeah,
Because
for
a
sure.
lot of times ES will reject and then NQ will end up showing a liquidity grab.
Yeah. There's also so RTY or IWM or UT Russell. So the Russell 2000 index been a super important chart. I've been talking about this for a while. You know, the Russell's like we call like the redheaded stepchild of the market. It typically just kind of does what it wants to do. But for me, this chart right now is pretty important just because it's still going to signify the breadth of the market. So KRE, the regional bank index, looking like it's at least basing Russell also. But I'll be straight up here. If I'm gonna continue to think about a long term or like a long trade on Russell, it's just been so flat. Like I, I think until it breaks over that like 78.50 and holds for a little bit, I would probably defer to like letting this thing do its own deal because at this point, unless we're making total new highs, this to me looks like complete sideways action. I can't necessarily take it one way or the other, and very tight ranges from here. So I'm gonna chill out on IWM. I want to keep this chart on my radar just because I do think it's important in terms of like understanding where the breadth is going to be. But if we do get a break over that 178.50 on IWM, I think this one would have really just like the most upside potential, and then at least to that 186 level. But until we get that break, I just can't take this one right now. It's just been too much of a chop trade. I don't know if anybody's watching that gas. This thing was been getting super interesting. Like I feel like pretty confident. Hey, look, this is not going down anymore. We hit this $2 level in NatGas futures. We're starting to create a little bit of a broadening formation. So if anybody's trading bull oil out there or anything like that, just be a little cautious. Um, you could be topping out here, but I want to see this hold uh, really like that 250 or right here, 235 level on that gas futures before I start talking about Boyle on this guy because it could just continue to stay in this range. So just a heads up. Uh, I don't think you're not really trading oil or anything like that, right? Just
Not anymore. No, I'm actually way more into forex right now than I am oil. If
yeah,
I'm not finding something on ES or NQ, but I'm able to find. I mean, today I traded like I think 5 or 6 NQ trades. and then a couple Forex. So I'm able to keep busy there.
Right on. I'm gonna do a couple. So we got Netflix coming up. You're the first tech stock to report. Ooh, this thing. I got a multi-week view here on mine. So at the bottom left is the weekly chart. Bottom middle is the daily. Bottom right is an hourly, and then I'm using a 15 at the moment just to get a like wider view, maybe a little bit more in depth on these candles here. But coming in at a pretty critical level, looks like 326. Definitely below this prior consolidation. Not looking super clean, but we have earnings coming up. This is going to be tomorrow after the close. Let's see. I'm going to pull an implied move really quick. So I don't typically take directional trades on things, but what's important right now is to know, okay, so if Netflix is about 330, wow, the implied move is about $30. What is that? 10%? Look, so if the implied move is 10%, and I'm going to pull up a historical. Last quarter, Netflix moved 8.5%, 13.1 before, 7.4, and we have two kind of outliers, one at 35 and 21%, about a year ago on both. So, I mean, it has the potential to move 10%. Ooh, this is going to be a toughie. I don't know. I think I got to stay away on this one. But if you get a flush, I'm looking at this kind of like 290 level to probably kind of defend after earnings. I'm not going to trade this one beforehand for sure. And then we have Tesla this week too, right? So Tesla Wednesday after the close. This one could be a good intraday trading. It's in a pretty clean range. I mean, the weekly is like completely sideways at the moment. The 200 week right around 180. I don't see this failing before earnings at all. So maybe just kind of like bouncing. Yeah, that is right around that 180 level. And you have a 50-day at 190. So probably bouncing between that 180 and 190 level until earnings. So just careful there. And then Tesla typically doesn't move a whole lot in earnings. Let's see, 185. I might just throw a 185 calendar. $15 implied move on Tesla, which would be what? About 7% implied. That's pretty accurate. Tesla does move about 7% on average. So you're going to have to move more than 7% on Tesla earnings if we actually get a go. GS News with Apple. XCal is XCal. You want to look at GS or Apple?
I think you're saying there was like Goldman Sachs maybe raised a target.
Was it the credit card news? It could be. Man, Apple, I don't even know why this thing is up here so high. This thing is blowing my mind, man. Every time I think it's going to break down, it's like poof, shoot straight up to the upside. I just like this was this Thursday? I mean, massive.
The headline is Apple Goldman Sachs debuts savings account with 4.15% annual yield.
Savings account. Well, Goldman doing a little bit better today for sure. Goldman getting kind of squeezy right at that 200-day. Yeah, Apple, man. I don't know. Right at this level, I guess if it breaks over 166, yeah, sure, we got to say it's going to 173, but I mean, that's just so wild to me to see Apple all the way up here, man. All I can say. J&J, I think earnings coming out too. Yeah, it just stuck right around this 165 level. I don't see this going anywhere until earnings. So they're going to have to wait on that one. NVM. Oh. Yeah, it's all good. J&J, let me see. Am I missing anything? Yeah, J&J today. Let me just take a look at J&J. So J&J is a weird one. They probably don't have, let's see, 165. It's got a $3.66 implied move. My gut is that they don't move that much. Look at that. Yeah. So they didn't move at all last quarter. And this is like 0.5%. This quarter, man, what is that? 10%? $1.60 would be. What is that percentage? That's a high percentage. Um, this one, I don't know. I think it might be justified just because they have that lawsuit right off their shoulders, which has been in their way for so long. I'm gonna have to take. I don't know about this one. This is gonna be a toughie. There are definitely gonna be some, but I would probably look a little bit more into that. IBM does typically move. Proctor's gonna be an interesting one for sure, and a ton of these like regional banks coming out. Schwab this morning too. Yeah, this was Schwab this morning. Trading any equities today, Jesse, or this week?
No. No, not you mean individual stock equities?
Yeah, like options.
No. Just a QQQ put that I actually stopped at break even that ran to 60%. And everybody seems to have held but me.
Oh, good. I'm just gonna note Schwab just because this is probably gonna be an interesting one. Definitely not as bad as they thought, but trigger for me here. Probably looking like a holdover 52.70. A little bit of an outside day so far. Looking like it could be a 212 reversal on the week. So this would be definitely one to watch for sure. This is weekly triggers 52.75. 52.75 going to be your major critical level to hold above, close above rather. All right, just kind of going through WSP. What is WSP? Micro 500 feet. No, I don't know what that is. All right, I got one I'm watching right now. I haven't really looked at it so far. Is this doing what I think it's doing? Oh no, Walmart. I'm checking in on this one. So Walmart to me, by the way, I'm short Walmart right now. It's a bit of a lotto. I don't know. What I'd say is that Walmart, the Waltons love to sell their stock. And I saw this kind of order like go through of the Waltons. Like this is so much selling. And this is at the end of March. So if people are thinking short consumer, this is right in that kind of wheelhouse. Like if there's going to be a credit tightening kind of event in the economy, this is, I mean, I just immediately look here typically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is like, it's a couple $1 billion that they went through and sold all towards the end of March. And to be fair, like that's, it was one of the biggest like blocks of selling I'd seen. It was like boom, 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 boom. So this caught my eye for sure. This is all March, and they were selling all the way from like 145. Looks like about, oh, these are shares total. So the value $218,000 a piece, where normally I'm seeing them selling around the $100,000 mark, give or take. So the sales coming in this last month, that's what kind of stood out, right? So 1, 2, all of these are $200,000 plus, which are the biggest kind of lots that they have done. And then technically, yeah, this 148.40 levels, the real trigger to the short side. But that's that lower consolidation here on Walmart. So still kind of watching this, not a huge position, but potential break to the downside. And that would put me at a target really right around 145. All right, guys. One sector, I'm just going to do this. So XBI is a sector, I think it's had a pretty good reversal just recently. I posted this on the timeline, but major break and then a beautiful pullback on Friday. So this was, let me just throw these lines out here. So if I sync this line, so this was the consolidation on XBI on the daily right here. Gonna break, retest, and explode back. We had this pullback. This is that 50% pullback on Friday. So this is one where I think if I'm looking at sectors, the next sector that really could catch fire, this is like the subset of healthcare, if you will. I mean, this is a big move right now. So if we start, man, if this gets over 83, that would be huge. But I'm going to start looking into this ETF really. There's a leverage ticker that I do trade on this LabVIEW. Massive moves already. So just heads up. I mean, this can start flying too. I'm just going to pull up really quick. the sectors as a whole. Oh, they changed this outlay. So communications down 1.1%. This looks like the weakest, and then energy. So this is like the Google, Meta, Netflix. All makes sense to me. Real estate also actually makes sense just because that's the sector that everyone was kind of thinking would be way beaten down, and maybe not happening quite yet. So that might just be a little bit of a dead cat bounce or rebound. We'll see. Other than that, financial is doing okay. Healthcare pullback. Yeah, I'm gonna watch. Communications could be a good bounce later on this week, but again, it's pretty. It's got to be earnings, man. It's got to be earnings for me. That's what's gonna make really the most moves. So any type of sympathy plays off these like Netflix would be Meta or actually Warner Brothers WBD. If they have a good one, that would probably be a pairs trade. Yeah, I'm going into pairs trade mode, I think, for this week, based on some of these other reports of Bank of America, J&J tomorrow. I'm still in Pfizer long, not doing well, just kind of like bleeding out. We'll see. But other than that, cool. I think crude, if you're in a crude trades, this is right in that consolidation. It's got to break over 84 before you can really think that that's in a breakout mode. Otherwise, what was it? Gold. I think I've been in this for a while. I'm very much in the camp where gold is going to consolidate for a considerable period of time, at least a couple weeks before it makes the next move. So we have on the calendar, I think it's next week and a half maybe, that we have next month, the deflator, like PCE, Wednesday, May, FOMC. Yeah, this is like the 20. Oh, that's like a month out. We don't have anything major. So this is this week, Wednesday. Yeah, Jolts. And then Wednesday the 3rd is the next rate decision. So we're a ways out. Cool. All right, I'm not going to take a whole lot more of your time today, guys. Mostly earnings, little bit of biotech, probably some watch, and looks like some financials potentially rebounding. But other than that, man, I think I'm good. You got anything else, Jesse?
Nope. Got everything out there.
Cool. All right, guys. Yep. So 409 on SPY, 4950. If we hold that, I'm ideally we could break through that consolidation zone, which bring us closer to that 418. So that's going to be my upside target on the week. And you guys just rewind for the downside target to be like 400, sub 400, something like that. Cool. All right, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys and all your support. And we will catch you on the next one. Adios.